Testament, which we know that the last book is Malachi. And then after Malachi, I will be going into the New Testament period, which we done talked about all some of the BCs that happened back in history. And even Pastor Roger is teaching the same lesson. This is really how the Bible really overlaps itself. That's why you got to read the New and the Old, because it helps you to understand that the same things will happen in the Old Testament or have happened as it is in the New Testament. So on today, I'm in the book of Zechariah. I went over the first 3 of his dreams. Out of the 8 dreams, I went over 3 last week. We talked about the rider on the red horse. The meaning is God is jealous for Jerusalem, and judgment is to fall upon the nations for abuse of his covenant people. And the next one I went over was the 4 horns, Zechariah chapter 1, verse 18. The 4 horns are the 4 nations that he scattered in Israel, namely Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and Rome. And I went over the 4 carpenters, Zechariah chapter 1, verse 20 and 21. These are the instruments of judgment upon the 4 nations that I just went over. And the last one I talk about was today. Today I will be on D, the man with the measuring line. Zechariah chapter 2, verses 1 through 13. Jerusalem is not to be measured as man would measure, but the Lord himself shall be a wall around the glorious city. Zechariah, best known today, is for his 8 prophetic apostolic vision and his 2 judgments, salvation oracles, in which he rebuked the people of Jerusalem and exhorted them to complete the rebuilding of the temple. And in the Old Testament, you'll be hearing a lot with that, because that's what the forerunners before Zechariah did the same thing when I was in the other 2 Old Testament books. And today was also Haggai, and had told them that God wanted them to build their house, but what did he do? They were thinking about in Zephaniah and Habakkuk. We know that this Old Testament, God wants what he wants to be done. So we thank God this morning. Zechariah envisioned a new Jerusalem without walls, Zechariah 2 and 4. The walls imply a hostile world as well as a boundary world. A world divided into them and a world divided with us. So with God pledging himself to be a wall of fire around her, Zechariah 2 and 5 states, "For I, saith the Lord, would be a wall of fire all around her, and I would be the glory in her midst." So that's just a blessing to know that God would be a wall if they would be without walls, because God gonna be that wall, and God is assuming fact. The next one we're gonna talk about today, his dream, is Joshua the high priest. Zechariah chapter 3, verse 1 through 10. This vision pictures the removal of inquiry and future glory for Israel. Filthy garments removed and a mitre placed on their heads and clean clothes. The book contain more references of angels, all the way from Satan to the angel of the Lord. And we know Satan was the fallen angel. Than almost any other book of the Old Testament, because of the apocalyptic nature of these writings. Satan is a fallen angel who leads a vast army of other fallen angels in open rebellion against God. And you'll find that in Luke chapter 11, verse 14. The angel of the Lord is frequently mentioned by Zechariah in chapter 1, verses 11 through 13. Also in chapter 3, verses 1 through 6, and in chapter 12, verse 8. As special messengers or agents of revelation, you'll find the same thing about angels in chapter 1, verse 9. Angels date back to long before Zechariah's time. The prophets preached before the Babylonian exile. Rarely mentioned angels. Angels may have been a way for God to reassure his people. Everyone is invited in his neighborhood under his vine and under his fig tree. The next vision I want to talk about this morning is the golden candlestick and the two olive trees. About to Joshua, the high priest, Zechariah chapter 3, verse 1 through 10. We know that each one of us have different iniquity that we have seen removed from ourselves, or different times that we have prayed for different people, and that we know that in order to hold your head up and have a clean heart, you got to repent. So today, the next vision is the golden candlestick and two olive trees. You'll find that in Zechariah chapter 4, verses 1 through 14. God shall reveal his temple and shall witness in the power. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 6. The two olive trees. Zechariah chapter 4, verse 1 through 14. God shall reveal his temple and shall witness in the power of Zechariah. Then he says, and an angel returned and woke me up. The gold lampstand with a bowl and 7 lamps on it represent a steady supply of oil, signifying that God's power would be reflected in the light of oil that was obtained from crushed olives and used in bowls with wicks in it. And you all lived back in a long time ago. They had those lamps, so they didn't have electric. So they used those lamps with wicks in it. If your wick burned out, then you could not light that kerosene lamp, because the kerosene would cause it to flame up so you could see. To produce light, the two olive trees stood for the priestly and the royal offices. Zerubbabel was given the responsibility of rebuilding the temple in Jerusalem, while the prophets Haggai and Zechariah gave the moral and spiritual encouragement to resume work on the temple. Zerubbabel saw that the task was carried out, so he was given the credit for carrying out this task. This morning I have talked on the man with the major line, Joshua the high priest, and the golden candlestick and two olive trees. On next time, we'll be going over the last 4 dreams of Zechariah, starting in chapter 5, verses 1 through 4. Thank you. Join with me today and listen to the Bible lesson on Zechariah, the man with the measuring line. thank you all this morning. I appreciate you all. And I pray that each one of you all have gotten something out of the lesson. Thanks, Pastor Roger, for taking the time coming on the line, because we know that he got things that he has to do, but he always is attentive first to us by recording us, so that somebody just might want to know something about Zechariah without reading the whole every chapter from chapter, line from line. I have given an overview of Zechariah and his dream. So far, I have gone over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I have gone over 6 of his dreams. And we have 4 more, which actually it was more than 8. It was 10. So we thank you all this morning. And I'm asking right now and saying good morning